Welcome to the HU Move Makers podcast, where we highlight folks that are blazing the trail and making moves in Howard culture. Welcome to the HU Move Maker podcast, where we highlight influential people in Howard culture that are making moves. Today we got a boss, a tech giant from Chicago, from Atlanta, a diva, Alpha Chapter, Sigma Theta, Campus Pal, RA in the quad. Man, what was that like? No heat. Did I have AC back then?
We had
degree. She got a bachelor's degree in economics, so she's about her money, and political science. Master's degree in HR and public administration. CEO of Akinship. I can't wait to talk about Akinship because she has an event on the 23rd. And it's already sold out. But not only that, man, she's an executive at Google. Recently got a position, market HR lead in Atlanta, advising the Southeastern territories in the United States. So that's Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Florida, South Carolina, DC. Man, you know, I want to call you S. Karima, but I know that's like you got something else on here. Is that, do I say Kari or Kari?
Kari.
Kari McFarlane. Can I call you that?
Yes, you can.
Well, hey, welcome to the show, man. It's a blessing to have you on here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be on here and talk about.
It's a blessing because you're doing some big things. You're working at Google. Everybody knows what Google is. So when people love to hear that word, and obviously, you know, Google is known for having some of the most talented people in the world, you know, working for them. I remember talking to one of my homies at Google, and he was telling me that somebody had quit Google, and they paid this dude $100 million not to work at Twitter. I'm like, damn. What type of clause is that in your contract where you get paid $100 million? You can go anywhere, but you can't go work for them. But anyway, I want to talk about Akinship. I want to talk about Google. I want to talk about how does a girl from the south side of Chicago make it and navigate through all of this and wind up where you are, man. Because right now you in San Jose. I've been to San Jose. I ain't see no black people. I ain't see you when I went there. What was y'all at?
There's a couple of us. We hiding. We probably on our way in our car to Oakland.
So tell me about Akinship. I think let's talk about that.
Okay. So I'm super excited about Akinship. Akinship really is a platform that me and my business partner, Marie Nuon, are creating and have started creating. It's really to bring those, I would say, conversations that you have with your girlfriends, your dudes, your partners, your family around the workplace. So everybody knows when you want to work somewhere, what you do. You go through your Rolodex, your phone, your network, and you say, hey, do you know somebody who works there? Do you ask people around? You're on the internet, you're on Glassdoor, you're on whatever platform trying to find out about that information. But when you see that information, that doesn't really tell you anything about what it's like to work there from your demographic. So what Akinship is doing is it's creating a way where you can find out what is it like to work at, let's say, Google or Amazon, or it doesn't have to be a tech organization, JP Morgan, DC government, from the perspective of a Black woman, a Hispanic male, because it's different. What type of microaggressions do you achieve? How hard is it to get promoted? What is the interview process like? It's all those things that people tell you when you have that network. And so it's also like a way for you to understand, how can I get a mentor? How can I get a sponsor? How can I mentor someone who might want to be in the field that you're in? Because if you don't know anybody, where do you go to find these people? LinkedIn. And sometimes it's cold, right? People feel weird sometimes interacting with people and asking them for support directly. The whole premise of this platform is to create a community and a family atmosphere where you can feel comfortable getting that perspective and getting to know people so that you can develop professionally.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. So on one end, you have to get these companies on board to allow you to come in and get and see what their culture is like. Is that right?
Well, we actually are going to be allowing the people who currently work there and people who have worked at these organizations in the past to provide us with informal feedback about what it was like to work at those organizations.
So are they anonymous?
Mm-hmm.
Like how do you get that info without, I guess, if I'm a corporation, maybe I don't want people having access to this type of proprietary information. How do you get in there?
Yeah, so they have the option of being anonymous and they have the option of not being anonymous. That's fully on the individual. But we verify the information from the individual. They do use their work email addresses from so we know that they actually work there, and we have various mechanisms where we can verify where they've actually worked.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then you have other folks. So these are prospective people that are considering working at these organizations. So this kind of helps them get a leg up on how to interview. And then even if they get the job, what the culture is like.
Correct. Because
Okay.
I always tell people you can work, let's say, I'll use because I'm in HR, people operations. I can do many of the things I do in many organizations, but it's the culture of the organization that's really going to determine whether or not I'm going to have job satisfaction, career satisfaction. Because working at, let's say, Google could be very different than working at, let's say, Apple or Amazon. And they're all in tech, right? But it's different cultures.
Oh,
So you have
okay.
to determine what you want and how do you want to um, achieve your career satisfaction based on what it's like to work in those different places.
Damn. So I would imagine that the definition of culture has kind of shifted in these last 3 months. You know, um, I guess people probably really want stability. I mean, where do I know in our demographic, or even a little bit younger than me, I don't know if I'm considered a millennial, but I know millennials, man, they want to feel valued. They're not necessarily prioritizing money over like happiness. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah,
way that our parents probably did.
yeah.
Where do you see like the tiers of like importance? Like when people are out there looking for opportunities to work at a place, how far up is culture on that ladder? Because when I was interviewing and I was in the school of B, I was not asking about culture at all. I was like, how much you
Right.
pay? You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? How much you pay? How many days off? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was asking questions like that. What are some of the questions that you're getting from people that as they enter into the workforce or they transition into other roles?
Yeah. I would say that, like you said, I think most people when they're first coming out, like if they are in a situation where almost everybody is in, where they have student loans or, if you're from an underrepresented group, typically you're not just worried about yourself, you're taking care of your little sister, your cousin, your whole family. So you're thinking about that first job and how can you put your family on your back. But I would say that probably one of the most important things that you should think about when you're transitioning, especially for your first job, is the culture and who are you going to be working with? Are these people where you're going to be the smartest person in the room in terms of like your experience, your knowledge, your drive? Or are these people that you can actually learn from? Because you're so new to the workforce, you need to be a sponge at that point. The second thing is, I would say this is a great time to actually evaluate organizations too. We're in the world right now, we all know there's COVID-19. How is that company treating its employees right now? Are they
But but
doing
but when you're being recruited and you're in these interviews, I know they say you're supposed to interview them too. You know, a lot of
that's
times, we at Howard, man, they'll send that one black employee that works for the company to
true?
come in to come and recruit you, like, yeah, this is what it's like. How do you know how can you validate what somebody's saying? Because I might be disgruntled at a company, so I might come to a kinship like, man, I'm about to say they treat black people like trash.
Yep.
And that may or may not, be the truth. Also, you have these recruiters that come, and I guess their boss might say, hey, Tyrone, we're going to Howard next week. We need you on that recruitment trip.
Right.
So Tyrone was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. They telling you all the stuff you want to hear. How do you guys get to that nitty gritty and find the truth of what it's like to work, in those corporations once you start?
Yeah, yeah. So everything that you said is very true. So what we try to do is have questions that are a little bit more telling. We ask them to give examples of how you've actually been. What experiences have you had in terms of career development? Who was it that talked to you? Was it HR? Or was it your manager? Which is your skip level? How often did you meet with your skip level? How many opportunities did you have to do training development? We
Mm,
ask questions that don't allow you to give a scripted answer because you have to be, if those things haven't happened to you, you don't really have an answer for those things. And to go back to your original question around what should you be asking those recruiters, even if it's Tyrone that's going as the one person from an underrepresented group to you, ask them about their personal experience. Can you tell me how does your manager develop you? What programs have your manager put into you? How do you get training? Those open-ended questions, not just asking, hey, do y'all have career development programs? Every organization is going to say that.
hmm, man.
Um, I also would say, and I can't say this enough, really take a look at how organizations are treating their employees in this COVID world. Are they giving them extended programs? Are they looking to do look at how they're doing reductions in force? Are they giving people notice? What are they giving? I think the CEO of Airbnb wrote a very good letter explaining how they came to the decision of having to let people go, what principles were used, and the things that they gave their employees was very telling. Versus there have been other organizations where they just logged onto a Zoom call and everybody in that moment was let go from the very next moment. Like, how much care did they take in these times where everybody is impacted? Like, that's a really important factor to understand, like, what it's like to work in an organization.
Got it. So let's say I sign up for a kinship. I'm coming to your seminars. I mean, you guys aren't guaranteeing people work though, right?
No, absolutely not. You got to get the job yourself. I can never guarantee you work, but what I
Mhm.
can do is
Or you're not
is
positioning them in front of recruiters or anything like that, or are you doing that?
well, we are having opportunities, and we are having seminars where we're inviting recruiters out there. But
Mhm.
I can lead you to the water. I'm not going to hand you a job. I can give you the tools to interview better. I can give you the tools to ask the right questions to make sure it's the right workplace for you. But I can't sign you up for a job. It don't work like that. I can just show you what you need to do in order to put your best foot forward and to really amplify the skills that you have as someone
So it's
entering the
like
work.
basically you kind of helping them guide through the process, putting things on people's minds, so that they can make the right decision for them. 'Cause
Yep,
I guess in a sense, when, other than choosing your college and choosing your mate, choosing, that career path is right up there in terms of big decisions. What's an example of microaggression?
an example of microaggressions would be, we've done a tremendous job uh, of of recruiting, and then they'll say, look at Kari, right? We have a black female in position now. Uh, why are you just highlighting me and not just highlighting the work that you need to do? Or it's when you're in a room and people are asking, well, how does the black community feel? Well, I didn't realize I was a spokesperson for all of the black community. I can tell you how I feel and how the people in my network feel and how I might look at it, but it's constantly pushing the pressure of particular ethnic groups, gender, anything like that, on one individual. That
Hmm.
happens a lot in the workplace. Sometimes
Wow.
you just work. You don't always want to have to stand up and explain every injustice every day. That's exhausting. That's a full-time job in itself.
Damn, man. So you get, so I'd imagine that you get hit up from people of all walks of life. So this is specifically for folks that are considered minorities, right?
I would say not necessarily minorities, just underrepresented groups. So we also work with people who have disabilities, right? And I think that's a part of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging aspects that we very rarely talk about. People
Oh,
who
okay. That's a good one.
have all kind of learning disabilities and or they're unable to see or hear or whatever. They're deaf, all these different cases. And what are we doing to allow them to work in the same environments, because they have the same skills and are fantastic within their fields, but do we make it easy for them to work?
Dang. So okay. So even people that are already in these positions, they're joining your organization, and they're joining so either they can help someone else make a good decision, or they could kind of, I guess, bond with somebody who's going through something similar. Is that accurate?
Correct. It's not just, it is to help, but it's also just to have community. If I am, for example, and I'll use public health, if I am an epidemiologist and I am of an African American woman who's an epidemiologist, I might not come in contact with anyone else who's a Black woman epidemiologist. I want to be able to connect with them, understand what their experiences are. I might want to have a mentorship, because I might want to talk about my experiences as a Black woman, African American woman in epidemiology. Where would I find that? Am I just going to go on? You can't search on LinkedIn for Black women. You can
Dang,
search.
you came at LinkedIn. You came at LinkedIn twice today, man.
It's not that
You coming at them. You coming at them. Damn.
It's a great platform for networking. It's just, if I'm looking for a particular niche, if I'm looking for a particular sector and understanding, it's not as easy without just visualizing it to find it. And I only use LinkedIn. There's other websites that I can use. I only use LinkedIn because it's very popular for people to use. I'm an avid LinkedIn user. I highly support it. I think it's a great resource in finding roles and networking. However, if I'm looking for a particular experience, community, I would say that's not what that platform is.
Got you, man. So it's kind of like I'm trying to narrow it down. So it's like a LinkedIn, but more of a community, not quite like Facebook, but not like Big Brother, Big Sister. It's kind of like I don't know. I'm trying to narrow it down, but I think I got it. You know, if I'm a Black insurance agent, I'm new in the business, you know, or maybe I've been around a long time and I'm new in this, I'm having these emotions and I need to talk to somebody, you know, looks like me, you know, can kind of help me navigate through this. Or maybe I'm considering going into this field, you know.
Correct.
I can link up with somebody like that.
Or maybe I'll
face the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm facing this challenge. And like, yo, what happened when you did this?
Correct.
That's dope. So what made you come up with this?
Well, it really is because I've been doing this I would say my whole career. I can't explain to you how many people, not only within my sorority or my community, my friends, people from Howard or other schools or HBCUs, who reach out to me and ask me, hey, do you know somebody in this field? Because they know that I come in contact just by the work that I do in HR with different people. And they ask me about advice and how should they navigate this? How do they have this conversation with their boss? How do they talk about this with their peer? How should they approach this? And I'm usually
so that's literally how you came up with this idea. Some people were just reaching out to you about how to handle these things. Damn. Why you though?
Because I believe in it. You know,
no, I'm just saying, why were they reaching out to you? Because of your HR background?
No, well, yes and no. I think the HR background gives me some validity, right? That I know what I'm talking about. But I think also people like to reach out to me because I'm real. Like, if you tell me, hey, like I'm having this issue with my boss and they're always riding me, and I ask you additional details, and then I find out that you've been late 15 times in a week, or last 2 weeks, I'm going to tell you, well, it's probably you. I'm not going to give you all these other scenarios. I try to keep it transparent and honest. Damn. And I think people are looking for real feedback. They're not looking to be pacified. They want to understand, am I looking at this wrong? Or
oh, I mean, is this the type of feedback that you give your members to? Oh, wow. So it's not just a one-sided thing. It's like, hey, you need to do some self-reflection.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where the greatest growth comes in.
So you come up with this idea, I mean, and how long ago do you come up with the idea?
So I would say it's the idea. I've been floating around with the idea probably for 2 years,
2 years.
but we.
2 years you have this idea. At what point do you say, I'm building a website? When does the website get off the ground? From the moment you thought about it to the website?
January.
January. Oh man. So
COVID.
sat on this for 2 years.
So
Man.
listen to that. I sat on it for 2 years,
You sat on this
you know,
for 2 years.
and it just came to a point, especially I would say with just COVID and people losing their jobs and realizing now their access to network is even smaller. They don't have their job anymore. They don't have the people
Oh man.
graduate without a
Brilliant
job.
idea. Brilliant. Look at you. Killing it. Killing it. Now you like, shit. It's all systems go, right?
It's
Okay,
all
so
systems go.
let's back up a little bit. Before you developed the website, did you make a business plan? Like what? Okay.
Yep. So I got with my co-founder Marie, and we were just talking about what's the best route. And just a little bit about Marie. Marie was the assistant director of MIT Finance, and she experiencing the exact same issues with her students, asking her questions and her coaching and mentoring
So
them.
you got the culture. You know what I'm saying? Marie you got the brothers, she got the others. Okay, I see what we're doing with this. Okay. That's dope. Man, so y'all collaborate, and so but y'all both like-minded. Y'all like, damn it, we need to kick this off. This is cold. This is lethal. This has legs, man. This can do some damage, and I think that one of the biggest issues that people have, especially coming out of college, even in college, man, you really don't know what you want to do.
Yeah.
With your career, there's so many things that's unanswered. You know, back in the day, your parents would get a job, work, keep your head down. After 30 years, that's it. Now we want fulfillment from our job. We want to feel heard. You know, all of these things. Yeah. And I see what you're doing. Okay. So now, because I remember you sent out a survey to get people's ideas about, I guess, kind of getting feedback about, you know, what should go into the site and things you should consider. So now that's coming into play right now.
Yeah.
Because I was reading, I was like, okay, I still not fully understanding the problem that this is solving. So people coming to you with their problems, you get with your homegirl, she's MIT, you Howard, y'all come together. You know, 2 years you sat on this idea. Now for 2 years, is it 2 years that both of y'all was talking about it, or 2 years did you come up with the idea, then you approached her with it?
Yep. So I would say it's 2 years that I had been thinking about doing the idea, but until I actually got with Marie and she really explained to me her perspective around how her students were feeling. Because I mostly talk to people who are already in the workplace. She's talking to them as they're getting ready to graduate, when they're coming into the MBA programs and when they're coming into the undergraduate programs. And after talking to her, that's when we really decided that, you know what? Now or never. It's time to formalize this, because it's really about how many people can we set up a community for? How can we take our own career in our own hands and then give people the tools to be able to do that? Everything I've ever got is because somebody explained it to me. I didn't grow up having people in my family who went to college or who had, you know, career fields that weren't traditional career fields. You know, everyone in my family were either carpenters or electricians or were servers or administrative assistants. I didn't have people who had non-traditional career fields. And so I didn't know anything about it. And everything I learned, somebody had to tell me. So how do I give people access to information?
Damn, you like Yelp too. You like Yelp, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of that in one. Okay. Yeah. So
again, but the primary focus is to make sure it's a career development platform. While you'll have all these other resources and things that you can do on the platform, the point of the platform, the focus, the primary outcome of the platform is for you to feel like you're not out in this workplace by yourself. that you have a group of people supporting you, and that when you face a workplace problem or concern and you don't know what to do, you have people who have no other stake in the game but to see you win. Because when you network with people within your organization, there's still a level of fear, right? Like if you're in the same role, you might end up competing for the same role eventually, or you might have the same manager, you might end up on the same project. These people that you're talking with externally have no other stake in it other than seeing you win. They just want to see you do well and give you impartial feedback and support.
So when did you officially launch? How long ago?
In January.
In January. And so now you have about 100 folks that are on. What's like the target goal that you need to get to in terms of users before you say, okay, now we got to start bringing in revenue?
Well, I think that is a question with a lot of different sides, because for me, while of course we're always in it to make, to always make money, but for me, I genuinely see this as a passion work. If Akinship never brought in $1, I would continue to do it because I believe in it.
You can make me a third then. Y'all can make me a 33% partner then, since we,
You're a 33% partner.
Yeah, since money is no big deal, you know what I'm saying?
No, what I mean by that is I've been supporting and helping people for so long, and people have been supporting and helping me for so long. It's just a part of like who I am and the fabric of who I am. We always want to make money, right? Like we might start creating revenue as early as this summer. However, it's not the driver for me. It really isn't. The driver and what makes me excited is like when I see people, oh, you got that job you was looking for. Oh, okay, you got that promotion. You went in and you asked for more money because you felt like you were underpaid. And you use the tips and skills that I gave you to have that conversation, and you were successful, or you weren't successful in getting it, but you feel more confident in your ability to ask for what you want.
So right now, I know you're senior people operation executive at Google, and you recently got a promotion to market HR lead. So let's talk about that. I mean, you're obviously successful in your, if you want to call it 9 to 5 at Google. What are some of the things that, what are your roles right now at Google?
Yeah. So right now, I'm going to be transitioning into the market HR lead in August. I'll actually officially start there. So right now I live in San Jose, but I'll be going home to Atlanta. I'm like super excited about that.
Man.
To help expand tech in Atlanta and be a part of the amazing tech scene that is growing in Atlanta. Is some fantastic things that are happening in Atlanta. And my role will really be to help build out the unique needs of the sites that are in our regional sites. So from a perspective of what's in my scope, I have Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and DC, and Atlanta. And those are all growing sites with growing tech organizations coming there, and they have unique needs, right? Even as we think about like in a COVID world, each one of those states has a different return to work policy, has a different way they're approaching COVID. They have different political needs and have different education needs, and then we'll need different pipelines of talent from each one of those states. In Georgia, of course, we have Georgia Tech and Morehouse and several other schools that are dynamic. And how do we build the pipeline of talent coming through there? And how do we, as Google, also understand what is important to those particular states? And so I have the opportunity to be a part of that. It's super exciting.
So are you leading all the HR efforts?
I'm leading all the regional HR efforts.
Man, that seems like a lot of responsibility, and I guess in some instances, what is it like to hire people? Like, how do you hire people with skill sets that you don't even have yourself?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For me, you have to be honest with yourself and actually know what your strengths and opportunity areas are. And I try to hire people who fit within my opportunity and gaps. I can't be all, be everything. I'm not every woman, but I have a lot of skills, and there are skills that just aren't me. And so I try to hire people who have a lot of skills that I don't have to be complementary to my skill set. And then that allows me and our team to be better.
Man. So what are some of the business, like, do you hire for different brands, or do you help recruit for different brands that are under the Google umbrella? Is that what you're?
So Google all has their own staffing team that does staffing. This is really more so about, as we expand, what are the things that we need to take up? What are the regulations that are needed as we have different developmental needs at sites? Maybe at one site, there may be people who are primarily in our tech PAs, or there might be people who are primarily in our sales PAs. What type of leadership development do they need? What type of career development do they need? How will we build that out? What is the correct makeup of a site? When should we expand the site? When shouldn't we expand the site? How does this create a footprint within the organization across multiple sites?
Man. And so how long you been with Google?
I guess at this point it's been about 16 months.
Wow. 16 months. 16 months. And is this considered a big promotion that you got?
I would say so. I would say it's considered a promotion in scope of work, in terms of because of the way that we're growing.
Man. Well, congratulations, man. Shout out to you, man. I'm glad to hear you doing well. So why Howard? What made you decide you was going to go to Howard?
Oh my God. It's so funny. So when I was in school, when I was in high school, I went to Southwest DeKalb High School. Shout out to SWD Atlanta, Decatur. I was in a program called Close Up. And what Close Up was, it was a program where they brought high school students to learn about politics, because I just knew that I was going to be an attorney. And the very first time I went to Howard's campus, there was a protest going on. And I was walking on the campus, and they were like, "Oh, you must be a freshman. You must live in a quad." I didn't even know what the quad was. I was like, "Yeah, I'm in a quad." And I go in front of the building, and everyone is dressed in all black, and they were doing like a sit-in. And I was like, "Yep, this is where I gotta go." They were like, "We're not paying this money. We want to stand up." And I just, in my mind, it was going to be a different world. It was going to be, and it lived up to everything that I thought. And for me, I knew that I needed to be in DC because I thought I wanted to be in politics. I thought I wanted to be an attorney. And so with the location of Howard and the history of Howard fighting social justice and being a part of that, as well as going to campus and seeing that in real life, I just thought, yeah.
Man, so it was a protest.
It was some type of
protest. Made you want to go to Howard?
Yes.
People I just protesting in school like, I'm gonna work there. I want to go to that school organized. Where all the students are pissed. I'm gonna go to that school. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you was woke. So you always been woke, huh?
I always wanted more, and I knew that there was something out there more for me and the people in my environment. And Howard, you know, after reading about all the great people who went there and seeing Howard's name even more, even less than it was back then. Like right now, Howard's name everywhere, right? But back then, I think it was more, you know, you knew about a lot of different schools. Of course, there was like Spelman and Morehouse and every other school that's out there, all the amazing HBCUs.
You're right, though. You're right. I feel like now Howard's name is like, the brand is just like, you know, it's out there. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're black and you're considering college, Howard, you're going to apply to Howard. Just it's like almost off the strength. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if it's just me just because I'm so enamored in the Howard culture, but it just seems like Howard is all on TV and, you know, even
everywhere.
Like product placement, like you see a guy with a Howard shirt on, like we see I forgot
it's
the
like
name. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, now when I wear a Howard shirt, I run into people. I was at the protest earlier today. This girl like, "How you went to Howard too?" I'm like, yeah, word.
And I love it. And you know, there's like there's a a hill behind my house that I like to like hike or whatever, and I had on a Howard shirt, and this is in the middle of COVID, right? This older white gentleman came up to me, and he's like pointing. I'm like, what? What did I do? Did I do something? And he's like, oh, you went to Howard? I'm like, yeah. It's like, I love that school. And I'm like, really? You love it? Okay, all right.
Damn.
And he was running down facts, and it was just interesting, like just like you said, the brand of Howard, which I love, which is completely is completely earned and respected. But in high school, because I went to high school in Atlanta, everybody wanted to go to Spelman and Morehouse, and that was like the brand because it was in Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of my teachers, actually, two people who I kind of credit like me even going to college to, she went to Spelman and he went to Georgia Tech, but he had a lot of like affiliation with Morehouse, and they walked my application into the school, and everybody, people would walk around with like pins on saying they were going to Spelman and Morehouse, and me and two other people that I went to Howard with. Shout out to Philip Murray, who was former Mr. Howard, also campus pal, and shout out to Catherine Jackson, also out here doing her thing. We all went to Howard together. We were the lone people walking around with our Howard pins, talking about we're going up north to go to Howard. It's the best decision that ever happened. And between going to Southwest DeKalb High School in Atlanta and going to Howard, I just really feel like it saved my life.
Yeah.
And put me on the right trajectory.
Dope, man. So what I want to ask you about, for folks that might be watching, man, you weren't always this well put together image of Black excellence and Black girl magic. You once had some turmoil and some adversity that you had to overcome.
Yeah.
In high school. I don't want to put too much of your business out there, but it was, you almost didn't, you got some drama.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I'll just say this. I think everybody has like different things that have happened in their past that kind of shape them. For me, I grew up in many different communities, particularly in Chicago. Shout out to Morgan Park. And, my family comes from a hardworking family, but we didn't always have a lot of money. We grew up in the 90s and in the 80s, and that was the drug scene. That was the drug era. And a lot of members of my family were in different gangs, and a lot of members of my family weren't necessarily always on the right path. And that was who I was influenced by, and that was the people that I hung around. And I just remember growing up and fighting all the time. I stayed in a fight. You want to fight? I want to fight. And for me, school was just something we had to do so that the truancy officers wouldn't get us. When I was going up through junior high school and high school, I tell people all the time, like although I had good grades, I did not really truly understand what a GPA was, or why that was important, how that influenced you to be able to go to college or this school, until I got in high school and was in Magnet. I was in so many schools and classes, both in Georgia and in Chicago, where we didn't even have enough books. So you could show up to class and there might be 45 students in the class and 30 books. So it was kind of like, if I don't even have a book, what am I here for? I remember being in one geometry class in a particular school, I won't name it, and I had 100 GPA in that class, 100. My GPA, or not GPA, but my score for the class was 100. But I never even went to class. I mean, I skipped class all the time. They didn't care. They didn't care about the students. They didn't care anything.
Damn.
And so, there was a point where I was fighting and getting suspended from school and kicked out of school. And so.
Damn, they need a kinship for the high school kids, man. Damn. I would have signed up for that school. Like, where you can get 100 and not show up.
I brought home, my, what was it, quarters back then? I brought home my GPA, my report, and there was 100, and I thought to myself, like, oh, this, people like, oh, you had 100, and I thought to myself, like, but I didn't earn this. I didn't earn this grade, right? Like, I guess I was not causing trouble, and I would go periodically and do okay on a quiz, but I didn't earn this. And so I actually, that when I started looking at my GPAs, I actually started to apply to schools. At first, I wanted to go to a boarding school. I thought that like people who went to boarding school, you watch TV, I thought that people who went to boarding schools were then going to go off and go to college. And then I heard about this one school, Southwestern High School, and I applied to be in the management program. And I didn't know what it took to, and that's how I kind of figured out what it took to be in those programs. And I got in, and I had small classes. My classes were like 15 people, and they took us on field trips, and we went to colleges, and we learned about different jobs. And that's when I wanted to go to college. I was so naive and just didn't know anything even about the application process that I thought, and I had a fairly good GPA, like now that I realize that obviously as a full adult and going to college and understanding all those things, but I thought that my background was going to influence my applications for college. And so I was so afraid that I wasn't going to be able to go that I applied to 35 colleges because I just felt like if I apply to a whole bunch of them, then maybe I'll get into one. Like, I didn't realize that, like, I'm a fairly good applicant. Like, I didn't understand that. I didn't have those conversations. Nobody was talking to me about that until I got to that, to the Southwest Acad. And so I ended up
So you had pretty good grades coming out of high school?
Yeah, I mean, I ended up with I want to say I ended up with like a 3.4 or something like that, which was really good because leading up to that, I didn't have the same education that I would say that my peers in the Magnet program had. And we were taking all AP classes, BC Cal, AB Cal, and I had to work hard to catch up to the work that they were doing. And things came easy for some people. Shout out to Philip Murray. Things came easy for some people. And for me, I had to stay up all night. And I also worked through high school. I worked full time the entire time I was in high school, 40 hours.
Damn, what type of work were you doing?
So my first job, I was a server at Old Country Buffet. And then I don't know if y'all remember.
Damn, is that even still around?
I don't know.
Damn, Old Country used to hit though. Old Country Buffet, that used to be fire, man. I remember I used to go to Atlanta. I want to say they had one in the burbs somewhere here in Chicago, but I remember going to Old Country Buffet as a shorty, like, as a kid, you thought that was like the best restaurant in the world, boy. Then you get older, you like, what the hell is this? I was eating this whole time.
I worked at Old Country Buffet, and I don't even know if you remember, like MCI. Remember when you had to like buy long distance? Somebody would call on the phone, be like, "I'll sell you long distance for 7 cents a minute." That was me.
Yeah. Oh, really?
That was me.
You did that in high school?
In high school, I was, and honestly, looking back, I was making good money. I was selling long distance after school. I would go to cheerleading practice, get on the bus, ride the bus all the way to Alpharetta to where the MCI location was. I did that. Then I would come home, study, and I didn't live in the neighborhood where I would go to school, so I had to ride the bus to school. I mean, it was hard.
That's a tough high school experience, man. A lot of people wouldn't have made it out. What, I mean, a part of your high school experience, you're around a lot of drugs, fighting. What was the turning point? Like, what was it that said, you know what, I gotta get out of here? Was it something where you scared straight, or did somebody, grab you by your neck and say, yo,
Yep. Again, at Southwest DeKalb High School, there was my cheerleading coach, Tanika Scales. She sat me down one day, soror. She actually wrote my letter to become a Delta. She spelled grad, still out there and doing the great things in Atlanta as a teacher. She sat me down. She's like, I see how well you can do in class, but you're tired. Why are you so tired? Because I was working. Mm-hmm. Why are you so tired? Why are you not paying attention? I was I didn't have a lot of time to do homework at night. I was doing my homework during lunchtime at school, or like on a bus ride to school, or on a bus ride to work, because I was going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I just explained to her what it was. And she would sit down with me and talk with me and help me plan out how I would make this work. And she was the one that kind of opened my eyes to Spelman. She opened my eyes to more HBCUs. And she's actually was one of my greatest inspirations in wanting to become a Delta, because she was the one who told me about Delta and all the programs that they had. And I thought to myself, well, and I've always been this way, like, well, if I'm going to join something, I should probably join the best. So shout out to Alpha Chapter Delta Sigma Theta. So I thought if I went to Alpha Chapter,
Wow. So you knew what Alpha Chapter was even before you got to Howard.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to be an Alpha Chapter Delta in high school. And it had because I'm like, oh, if I'm going to be a Delta, what could be better than, not to say that any other chapter isn't great. Now I understand the sisterhood and how every chapter is amazing. But in my uninformed eyes, what could be better than just the first chapter to be a Delta?
Interesting. So they all the same, huh? All the chapters.
I would say that every chapter has their own culture, and every chapter is contributing to the community, and every chapter is upholding the sisterhood. But I have had a dynamic experience at Alpha Chapter Delta, just like I have had a dynamic experience at Howard. I can't say that going at, HI is the same as going to HU.
That's real. That's real right there. So when you get to Howard, what was it like, that like orientation, that first few weeks of being on campus at the Mecca? Can you describe it?
Yeah, I would say that it was amazing, right? So there were so many different parts of why it was amazing. One, I had never had my own room before, and my roommate was hardly ever there. I was in the annex, so to be clear, I was an annex girl. So I felt like, wow, I have my own room, because my roommate was hardly ever there. There was computers and access. It was all these fine Black dudes. I was like, hey. Campus pals was going around. I had the biggest crush on like half the campus pals. And I just thought, wow, this is amazing. And then when I got into that first class with Dr. Carr, and he started giving me everything I had ever seen on A Different World, I was like,
he's putting you up on game, huh?
Put me up on game. I'm like, how do you know that? And you don't even live here. Where do you live? Philadelphia? Where do you live? Wow. I just had never been around so many different types of Black people too, right? Like, people from the Caribbean, people from Europe, people from Africa, people from, I didn't know what they was doing from the Bay. Like, go dumb, get dumb. I was like, what's happening? Like, I really didn't understand that. So it was exciting.
Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, Howard is, that first week for me, that was like the best experience, or first 2 weeks, whatever. That was like the best experience I ever had, just learning about Howard culture, and then just, starting to meet people and, meeting teachers, and just learning about Black culture. Really, that was just a great time. Yeah. So now when you're on Howard's campus, I mean, I know you say your campus pal, your RA, your Delta. Which organization did you join first?
Delta.
Okay.
I joined. I crossed Alpha Chapter Delta, Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, as a sophomore.
You got to say the whole thing like that?
Yeah. You respect our. Yes, respect it. Every time, respect it. Okay, respect it.
Gotcha.
And I don't know.
Was that your sophomore year?
That was my sophomore year. I was living
so you joined as so that means you was tight. How did you get chosen as a sophomore? Because, on Howard's campus, I feel like everybody wants to be, I ain't gonna say everybody, but people that do want to be Greek, women that want to be Greek, it's like, I would say like 70% want to be an AK or a Delta, and 30% choose, at least that's how it comes across. I don't have no data, obviously, but Deltas have a heavy presence. And I would just imagine that coming into an organization like that as a sophomore, you got to have your shit together. How was you able to finesse that? Did you bring out that Chicago? You brought out, I mean, what? How were you able to finesse that?
Well, I didn't have to finesse. I had to be me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I think for me, and what I hope and what I hear and what I would think is that I really, at first I focused on my academics, of course. You make sure your academics are and two,
oh my gosh, you are too much.
I really, I was already doing a lot in the community. One thing you'll always hear me talk about is community. So back then, I was already volunteering quite often at Maya Angelou Public Charter Schools. I was a mentor and tutor there as a freshman student. I was also a part of America's Promise.
Wow. Oh, so if you want to be a Delta, you better volunteer in them organizations. Keep going.
If you want to be a Delta, you should have a strong commitment to serving your community. That should be something you should want to do regardless of whether or not you are.
I'm just saying, you better be doing some community service.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
American Service, that might be one of them you might want to choose. And the other one, what's the name of the other one?
This was a charter school. This was Maya Angelou Public Charter School.
You better hit up Maya Angelou.
I personally was a part of. And I also, it's like anything else. I would say
so you smart. You knew you wanted to be a Delta in high school, so you kind of knew, like, all right, I'm on it. Okay, keep going. Academics. What was your academics? What was your GPA? What was your GPA?
Back then, my GPA was a 3.5.
See, if you want to be a Delta, that GPA need to be at least 3.5. I'm just saying.
No, that is not true.
I'm just saying.
That is not true. That you do not have to have a 3.5 in order to be a Delta. What you need to do is be a well-rounded individual with commitment to service. And the other thing I would say is you should go to programs and find out more information about what is going on.
You damn sure better be at them programs.
Oh my God.
You damn sure better be your ass at them programs. I know that much.
Let me ask you this. Would you join an organization that you didn't know what they did, what they were about?
No.
Because Delta Sigma Theta is a lifetime commitment. So once you're in, it's not like it's something that you do in undergrad and then you never think about it. You are now going to be a part of this organization serving the community for the rest of your life. So if you're going to dedicate your life to being a part of an organization and upholding the values that they have, you should probably get to know the people who are in it. You should probably go to the program. You should probably educate yourself on what you're signing up for.
I feel like you've given this speech like 100 times before. But anyway, so, I mean, I bring this up because, let's be honest, man, you're a sophomore. And to get into, it's women that try all through college, don't get in. You know what I'm saying? Don't get in. Obviously, after college is a different story, but they go all through college and they have some of these requirements. And I think that for some people, who may not understand, how do I express interest? How do I get to know these women? How can I get these women to know I even exist without offending somebody? They need to know these things because GPA it means something. Service, it means something. Going to those programs, it means something. Doing the research, like you said, it means something. And obviously, as a sophomore, and let's be honest, when you make it as a sophomore, you got 2 years, 3 years of being on campus as a Delta. That means something, don't it?
Yeah, I mean,
come on, man. That's like when I made pals as a freshman. I knew right when I made it, I was like, yo, I'm about to kick it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm about to do whatever I want to do because I made this shit as a freshman. So, like, at least for the next 3 years, a certain part of my Howard experience is taken care of,
Yeah.
And it's not saying, you join these organizations to be selfish, but at the same time, it is your experience. You're going to do work once you get in because they're going to make you do work whether you want to do it or not. But from a standpoint of, your brand and your experience at Howard being amazing, I would say that, Delta was huge for you at Howard. You know what I'm saying?
Huge.
And I know you would have, not have wanted to do it as a senior versus sophomore if you had to pick? You know what I'm saying?
If I had to pick, you're right. I probably if would want to have done it as a sophomore.
Yeah.
However, each experience, because of the way that Alpha Chapter Delta is,
Oof.
you still you still have a unique experience and a bond that you have for
Yeah.
the rest of your life. And even as a junior with having line sisters who crossed as a senior, they were as involved, as supportive, as knowledgeable in advising the chapter and helping us do things as we were for the people who were in the chapter. I never felt like, oh, that was a senior who graduated. That was my line sister, like my sophomore line sister. There was no delineation for Alpha Chapter Delta Sigma Theta. There was no delineation there. And when you graduate, we don't, from an Alpha Chapter Delta's perspective, we don't go, oh, that was the sophomore and you don't know because you graduated as a senior out of the chapter, because your responsibility is a lifetime commitment.
You become a Delta first, then you become a pal. And so pals is just like the ultimate, just like go to jail, go to, it's like the ultimate, just, at that time, it's just a party. We still get work done. You still got leaders that's in pals, but you know how pals was. I mean, it was just nonstop, just
partying. It was such a good
relief. Crazy. Oh, great. That's why I said when I became a pal, and I think that's a danger for me when I became a pal. It made me feel like I didn't need to be in any other organization. I was just like, because I got it so early, I was like, why would I do anything else? I wasn't thinking big picture. It was like, yo, this is all I need. You know what I'm saying? So for you to become a Delta first, now you got that responsibility. Then you come around pals who, in some respects, those bonds are just.
Like you?
Yeah.
Like.
Right. Like, you come into that situation, and then you're also, a lot of them bonds for me, for pals, a lot of them people are still, like, they're like my best friends today.
1,000%.
So you got the one end where like y'all party hard, but y'all about business, and about the brand. When you got the other group, it's a tight bond. It's about getting in trouble. We'll handle the business after graduation. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll figure it out. What was it like sometimes maybe having to be, I guess, the adult in the room?
Yeah.
Sometimes. How was that?
It was interesting for me because I felt like, in the group that I came into,
and Delta pals, you know how y'all are. I mean, Delta anything, Delta pals, Delta yearbook, Delta homecoming.
Ooh, Delta yearbook.
You know how y'all are. So, but I feel like Delta pals is an interesting dynamic because pals is an organization where it's almost like the longer you've been in it, the more you get kind of disrespected. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like any other organization, the person that's the president or the person that's been it the longest, they kind of get that deference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Is like, oh, you've been in here too, or you're old. It's like, what I'm saying? Oh, you graduated, oh, you're old. Oh, it's weird. Like, what, talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I think for me, it was very interesting because there was several dynamics going on. One, Cece brought me in, Cassandra Compass, which was my line sister. Okay? So my line sister was bringing me into the organization. So, I have deep and utter respect, obviously, for my line sister. And then I also have deep respect for her as my mama, if you will, is bringing me into pals. But it's still like, but girl, you my line sister.
Right.
So there's that component.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second component is there are people in my group who want to be Deltas, right? And so they're feeling weird about how to approach to me, talk to me. They don't understand that dynamic of how to do that and let me just be your group member. Like, let's just be my group member. Don't think of this as having anything to do with like Delta. Like, I'm just your group member.
But can't you see how that can be difficult?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because you're 17, 18, 19, and sororities. I mean, fraternities are huge too, but I would say sororities, especially AK and Delta, like that's a huge deal, and I think people put a lot of weight in that. So having to be next to your peer and you want to, get down, that's tough. You know what I
It
mean?
was,
Cause it's like you want to, I'm sure you probably like, girl, just be yourself. But then
yourself.
it's another side of you like, don't be yourself too damn much. You know what I'm saying? Don't get beside yourself.
Respect yourself.
Yeah.
Respect yourself.
Yeah.
And then the other dynamic was that because I was an RA at the time,
Oh man.
I
And
had
you all right.
my residents were also in my group.
Really?
And so for me,
Oh, so
so
you smoking weed? I mean, pals ain't smoke weed, but
I
you
was
know,
my way.
you acting a fool with your residents. That's crazy. So you had a crazy Howard experience, man.
I had a crazy Howard experience, and I have some of the best friends I could ever have who have seen me, at my worst and have seen me at my best. Like, for everything that we say Pals was in terms of like kicking it crazy, because I've had some of the craziest stuff. I remember when we were playing pranks on each other and like, messing each other's cars up and like, shout out to 5120 and having parties, things like that.
So did you finish Howard in 4 years?
I finished in 5 years because I did do a study abroad program and I took on an extra major.
Oh, okay. See, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you got the most out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you got the most out of it. You pledged at Howard, you did Campus Pals, you was an RA, and you did an extra year. Yeah, you got the most out of it. So that was smart, man. So when you graduated Howard, did you have a job coming right out?
Yep. And the reason why I had a job coming straight out is because, so I was, again, like economics, political science, which is the School of Arts and Sciences. While I'll tell you this is how I feel about the School of Arts and Science. I think my education was amazing. However, my career prep was lackluster. And what I knew was that the School of B was preparing people. So I was going to events and I knew that in the School of B, they had signups for like organizations to come on campus and things like that. And so I signed up through the School of B program, wasn't even in the School of B. They tried to kick me out of it, said because I wasn't in the School of B, I couldn't be in the program. And I got on campus interviews and ended up going to SEI Investments in Pennsylvania. And I had the job offer in December. I had the job offer in December, and I graduated in May.
Wow.
And so
What were you doing?
HR. So it was supposed to be a rotational program where I was going to rotate through all the different programs. I was going to do iBanking and wealth management, all these different things. But my first rotation was HR, and I did so well there. They were actually onboarding some people into Taiwan and Japan. We were doing onboarding programs, and the person who was over it went on maternity leave. And I had the opportunity to help lead that program, and I never rotated out of there.
Wow.
And I've just been in HR ever since. I
So,
never wanted to be HR.
But you were how did you go into HR if you didn't have a background in HR? That was just what
So
they
it
were.
was a rotation program. So you were going to have an opportunity to be in every department, but then I never rotated out of HR.
So then after that, you ended up getting a master's in HR?
Mm-hmm.
And that from Howard?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. It makes sense now. Oh, that's dope, man. So in between that, man, I'll go ahead.
So it's really public administration with a focus of HR.
Oh, excuse me. My bad. It's really blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Okay, my bad. Get the master's degree. And so you have a family, right?
Yeah, I have 2 boys.
So
My husband went to Howard.
Man. So y'all dated while you was at Howard?
Yeah. So I actually started dating my husband. It was tough.
That's tough. So that's where I won. Okay. I mean, nothing wrong with being in a relationship at school, but that's tough. I mean, you a Delta, you a pal. Dang, you taking all type of L's. Social L's, man.
Exactly. Social. I didn't know it was like just wild and crazy.
How long was y'all dating?
We only dated for a year and a half, I guess, at Howard, and
so
then
that was like the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I guess that's not bad. It's hard to be in relationships at Howard, man, and
yes, it is.
Especially when you a pal, because it's just everybody when you get to campus, every freshman got a crush on you, and every dude that's a pal is flirtatious. You know what I'm saying? It's just something that comes with the territory.
Speaking of that, that is so funny. So for those of you all who remember, and I know where we are with pals now, but like you used to get those letters, like when you join Howard, like the campus pals. Campus pals would write letters to their entrance or whatever. And I remember my friend Katherine Jackson, who went to Howard too. We went to high school together. She got a letter from Jared.
Hey, Jared. Let's talk about
Yo, we got
Jared.
that letter.
Jared was like him and I
We
remember him
was
and Lance. Him and Lance was like they was like women thought that the two dudes was like the finest things in the world.
We were like, oh my God.
Jared had that deep voice.
And then we met Jared and we were like, oh, he's cool.
Yeah, right.
Then you get to Howard and it's like so many people who you can have a crush on. Like you're not really enthralled with just one person. You just like, oh. But I remember being in high school and just me and Catherine, we looked him up on PAL website and we were like, oh my God. Thirsty.
What year did you get into Howard?
2002.
Oh, damn. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I was there when you was there. I left in 03.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Interesting stuff, man. So how was that? I mean, being in a committed relationship so through all your 20s and even now, I mean, that seems tough. I mean, is that something that you could openly admit that was hard?
Absolutely. Hard? It was tough. It was hard. It was tough because, I mean, at this point, where I am now as a 35-year-old woman, and having started my relationship when I was 20, I guess I was about 20 or 21. You've grown up together. Like who I was at 20 and 21 is very different than who I am now. And you've had to accept how people have changed and where people are and what they wanted to do. And, when I was 20, 21, I never wanted to be married. I didn't want kids. I thought I was going to be working too much and doing too much in the community. And over time, I've just adjusted and wanted more things and I won't say I've grown up because it's okay if that's not your path or not what you want, but what I wanted changed.
Are Black women losing if they want to marry a Black man? Is it harder, would you say? Or why is it so many? Because I get a lot of women that say, man, it's hard to find something out here, if you want to be with a Black man. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that's just like media hype?
I think location matters too. Like if you wanted to marry,
that's a good point.
If you wanted to marry a Black man in San Jose, where it's 86% Latino, like good luck to you. Like you know what I mean? Like I think location matters. I think what I find in all of my friends, and I can't speak because I can't speak too hard, right? Because I'm not in that scenario, so I'm speaking as a person observing. Mm-hmm. But I do see that a lot of the people that I interact with that say they can't find anyone or haven't been able to interact, either their location is kind of weird and or, I don't know how you're going to find somebody from your house. Like they don't live with you. Like you only go to work
and got to get out. That's true.
You don't want to go to clubs. Okay, fine. Don't go to clubs. You don't want to go to events. You're too tired to go here. You're too tired to go to there. Are you going to meet them at Whole Foods? Like, I don't like you have to be you have to meet people. If you're not on that,
you got to be proactive.
That at Howard, you didn't have I guess they're still treating it as if they're still at Howard, where Black men are walking around and seeing your beautiful self, like walking around. But like now in the workplace, in regular America, we are still underrepresented groups. And if you go to work and you're the only one of two Black people at your job, and you go home and you live in a diverse neighborhood or you live in a middle class neighborhood and everybody in your neighborhood is married or together in a relationship, where are you going to meet these people at? I know so many people who are like, I'm just tired to go out. I don't feel like it. Or when they do go out, they only go out with a group of girls. And you know how we are as women. A lot of times we sit in our little circle and we don't really want nobody to infiltrate. We just here having a good time with our girls.
Yeah.
When are you going to meet somebody? And I don't know what the answer to that is, but I will say that what you're doing isn't working. And that's not the case for everybody. Those are just a lot of people that I'd happen to know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you can meet people there. I mean, you have to be in a place that provides that environment. It's like saying you want a job but not actually applying to any jobs.
No, that makes sense. How hard is that to balance
Hard.
family and career? So how do you do it?
For me, I think what really works well is just being open and honest, like with my husband, and saying, "Hey, like this particular week is going to be difficult for me. I'm gonna need you to take more of the load." And he's not misogynistic. He's not. He's the type of guy who really values being a father and really values being a part and is a good partner and will help me in that way. The other thing I will say is, thankfully, I'm at a point where I can afford things. And I'm at a point in my life where I think my time and my mental health is more important than saving $3. Okay. So, like things like Instacart, I don't have a need to go to the grocery store if this is going to be a packed week. I'm going to have my groceries delivered for the extra $10 that Instacart charges.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to pay because I have so much going on this month. I'm going to pay for somebody to come in and clean my house if I can afford that, because my time, I would rather spend that time reading a book to my 5-year-old son. So it gets to a point about how much is the savings. If you are in this financial situation, I know people are in different situations, but is saving $10 worth your time and worth your mental health? Like you got to get to a point where you prioritize that too. Like that's the $10, like that's Chipotle.
Mm-hmm.
I also, moving back, like even towards like a kinship or any things like that in the workplace, I also am very upfront about how I work from day one with my organizations. I say things like, hey, some people say I don't work after 5. The type of work that I do, I can't say that. But I do say to my people that I support and work with, like, I don't work between, 4 and 7, because during 4 and 7, I'm helping with homework, I'm looking at school, I'm cooking dinner, I'm putting my kids to bed. But you can reach me between 7 and 9 if you had something that was an emergency after 5, right? And I put those boundaries from day one. I have those conversations with people so they don't expect me. I told you I wasn't available if after
Wow,
5.
where'd you get the confidence to do that? Because a lot of times, that's not something that you learn in school, that you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of have that type of say so with an employer. You might even feel scared to say that because you don't want to lose your job.
Yep, I've learned that from different mentors that I've had throughout my career. Is really, that's why I think it's so important to have those sponsors and mentors in your career who can tell you how to navigate this workplace. And
Mm-hmm.
I also watch and see how people are in the positions that I want to be in ultimately within my career, and how they're navigating and what boundaries do they create, because just working and never having placeholders and boundaries for your mental health is not sustainable. Eventually you will crash and you won't do your best work.
So why,
So
when it comes to tech, it's always this conversation about it's not enough Black people in tech, and we're just gonna talk about Black people since this is Howard. Um, why is that? I mean, do you feel like these companies are making an honest effort?
yeah, well, I will say this, I think that some organizations
Are
are
we
making
not are we not that talented talented enough to work in tech?
Black people are some of the most talented people on the earth. It has nothing to do with talent. I think in some avenues, we haven't been successful because we haven't built enough pipeline. We don't have enough access to programs. We don't have enough career training. There's all these different rationales. It just depends on a particular organization. Sometimes it is we don't have enough people applying to the roles. Sometimes it's we don't have enough people who are of underrepresented backgrounds or groups or identifiers. It's part of the interview process to understand differences in people's background. Everybody's not going to go to one particular school or have one particular career path. And sometimes people hire people who look like them or act like them or have their traditional background because that's what they're used to. And they're not exposed to different non-traditional ways that people can achieve the same thing. There's
So
so many reasons.
what needs to be done to get so that we can be more represented? And because I feel like the tech wave is kind of like skipping us a little bit,
Yeah,
what can be done to make sure that we're well represented in these tech
yeah.
opportunities?
I think so. For me, I'll speak personally. I think, and which is a personal notion of work that like a body of work that I think people tell you that you can go into tech, like you hear all the time, and I don't know how deep it's getting into every community, but they say, hey, software engineering is a great field for you to major in. But they don't talk about all the other jobs that you can have in tech as a product manager, as a program manager, and all these other things, and how honestly, from a lot of tech places, many of the people who are in tech come from social science majors. They're not always a computer science major. There's many majors that you can major in and still get your way into tech. It's about getting information out there around all the different career paths that you can take, and then also influencing high school students to want to be in those fields. There are many other things you can do other than be a doctor. Not to say that's not a great, amazing thing, but other than be a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, those were, at least when I was growing up, those were the things you heard. It was like, you're going to be a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse. Like, you didn't really hear about being a product manager or doing machine learning engineering, doing computer vision engineering. You didn't really know about, like, you heard that people make video games, but who does the technology behind video games? Who is that person? There's not enough exposure about all the career fields that you can have to get people inspired to do that.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. So if you had advice for somebody that's coming to Howard, that wants to achieve, success at Howard, maybe they want to be in awesome, amazing organizations like you were in, if they're so fortunate. They want to be student leaders. They want to be, do great things afterwards. They want to marry their boo from college. What advice are you giving that person so that they can have a amazing experience at Howard and after?
Yeah, a couple of things. For me, what I will say is that never again will you be surrounded by so many Black people of different backgrounds and demographics who can open so many doors. Like, you need to be thinking about, these people are people that you can have relationships with for the rest of your lives, not just only just your professors, but like the people that you are in your classes with, the people who are on your floor in your dorms. Like, these people are going to grow, are going to aspire and become the leader of a podcast for a Howard alumni. They're going to be in movies. They're going to be VPs, CEOs, etc. And so think about that and create those relationships and bonds. Also, I would say that you can go anywhere, not anywhere, but you can go many places and get an amazing education. I think Howard's education is great, but it's not the only school you can go to get a great education. However, what makes Howard unique are the people who go there and the relationships that you form and the willingness of the Howard community to continue those relationships after you leave. If you go to Howard and you treat Howard like a commuter school and you don't meet people, you don't join organizations, then why did you go to Howard? That is the beauty of Howard. Like, joining the organizations, meeting the people, creating long-lasting bonds is the whole reason why you went to Howard, because you can get a great education at lots of schools that are cheaper than Howard. It's the people that you meet. The fact that I can walk down the street and see somebody with a Howard t-shirt on and they come up to me and say, I'm looking for a job, and I will sit there and have a 3-hour conversation with them off the strength of the fact that they went to Howard, is why you go to Howard.
Tell me about your legacy. What's the legacy of Kari McFarlane?
Yeah.
100 years from now, what are we saying about you?
I'm hopefully what the legacy is that we don't just have a seat at the table, we own the table. I feel like there is enough space for all of us there. If every single person of color, people from underrepresented backgrounds were in positions of power, there would still be seats left for other people. So there's no reason why you can't bring you and 20 other people with you to the table to eat. We all, and so hopefully the legacy is that I helped everyone eat. And I helped everyone's children eat. and people understand the game and are at the table because of the work and information that I brought to them. I just want to bring information to you. You got to have hustle, because I can't teach hustle. Either that's in you or it's not. And so if you have the information and you don't want to do nothing with it, that's a choice that you make. But if you don't have the information, that's not a choice. Man. You have to get it from somewhere. And I know that I have a lot of access to information, and I'd like to bring it to you.
A boss, man. Straight up boss, man. So if we want to get in touch with you and follow your movement, how do people do that?
Yeah, so you can check us out on our website at www.akinship.com. So that's AKINSHIP.com. Or you can follow us at The Akinship on Instagram, or The Akinship on Twitter. It's the same on all social media platforms.
Got that patent. Go ahead, girl. You've been a great guest. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Keep doing what you do. It's exciting. I'm proud of you. You out here making your moves. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
For sure. Thank you for joining the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the Howard legacy at the highest levels. To hear more interviews or purchase merchandise, please visit www.humovemakers.com.